Hi, my name is Sece Foster, and I'm an attunement practitioner. And what attunement means to me in my life is really being in tune with life itself. I know that can seem vague, but like to really take those moments to breathe, to tune into the source of my being, to tune into the people around me, to tune into what's happening in my own self, in my heart, in my mind. It's a mindfulness practice. It's being in the flow of life itself. And what that means to me is that I'm actually fulfilling what my purpose and mission here on this earth, in this incarnation, means is to be in tune with that highest intelligence, that highest love, that true meaning of life. And for me, that's love. That's love. That's connecting with myself in that space of love, connecting with the people around me. And quite honestly, attunement in that way is life-changing because, as you can see from our culture and the things around, that's not the usual way of being. So for me, that's life-changing because it impacts my whole world. It impacts everyone I'm with. It impacts the ability I have to be in any situation and know what it is that's mine to do. That's pretty powerful. So that's what attunement means to me, and that's what how it impacts my life. It really brings a certain magical quality to things, feeling of being guided, being protected and sourced and supported, moment by moment, breath by breath. Hi, my name is Sece Foster. I want to talk a little bit about the energy medicine practice of attunement and how that's changed my life. Honestly, it's really helped me to tune into my own spiritual gifts. We all have them. Everybody has a spiritual gift. And for me, it continues to unfold. It continues to deepen. It continues to get more and more powerful. Like, not only has it healed relationships in my life, because it gives me a higher understanding, a higher way of seeing, a deeper way of loving myself and the people around me. That is hugely life-changing. Beyond the physical, I mean, it does bring healing to the physical because everything starts first in the invisible. And our bodies absolutely respond to things like love, and it responds to shame. It responds to all these different energies that are at work. So attunement, when we learn to attune to the source of wisdom and love that's within us, when we learn to really tune into that, these energies, these higher frequency energies are more flowing in our physical experience. Therefore, there's more vitality, there's more a vivacious living, you know. I'm 56 years old. So, I mean, for me, that spirit has always kind of been with me, but in deepening in the energy medicine practice of attunement, I really feel that the big thing for me is this unleashing of spiritual gifts, the ability to bring that to other people, to actually see a significant shift in a person. When they sit down for attunement, they can come and they can be just like all upset about a situation or worried or and then after the attunement, there's like this, you can feel it. There's been a shift that they then take with them. And so to be able to do that for other people is such a gift. And I've been able to share that with some of the young people in my life, which I think is incredible to see young people actually like thirsting to know. It's like, what is this life about? What is God? You know, it's like, that's what's up because, you know, they don't necessarily know how to relate to the spiritual realm. There is this realm. We are spiritual beings. We're living a human experience. And to be able to help a young person to understand that that's what they are, that's who they are, and to draw out their gifts by bringing attunement to them is so fulfilling. It is like one of the most exciting things of my life to be able to share that. And I really think, with the spiritual gifts and what it's unleashed in me is like just this greater awareness, like to know, to see truly, to see what's really happening for myself and for the people around me, and to know intuitively, like, what's mine to do? What do I need to say? What words can I say that's going to bring some healing or some understanding to this person? That's huge. And so for the people in, when I'm trying to explain attunement, it's hard to explain, really. I mean, I'm trying to do that right now, but it's the experience of attunement. That's what really gets people's attention, is like after a prayer or an energy medicine session, there's a shift. There's a shift in themselves, a more hopeful, more empowered, more in tune way of being. So, and then as far as like physical issues, like I've done attunements and shared attunes with people who are going through pain. My significant other happens to have a, chronic pain condition. And so to be able to share attunement and know how energy moves and where it's stuck and what needs to be freed up, can take her from, like a level 8 or 9 down to, a more manageable level 4 in just like 20 minutes. So that is some powerful stuff. We are energy. We are spirit beings. We're having a human experience. And so to really tune into our spiritual nature and let that inform our living, a physical experience, is absolutely life-changing. My name is Sece Foster. I want to talk a little bit about this word agreement and how it pertains to attunement. So the fact is that like I am a being who can bring that energy. But when I have someone else's agreement, so for instance, if I'm doing an attunement with someone, especially for the first time, I really try to take them to a place. First of all, I let them know that they are part of this, that they are also part of this cycle that we're about ready to go through, that they need to open and allow themselves to open to a current. So it puts them in this place of participation. We're participating in allowing the current of attunement to move. So that's one level that agreement really makes a difference. Because if someone's closed off or like, oh, this is woo-woo, this is, I mean, if you ever heard is like, if you believe it, that's your reality. Well, if you believe that you're not a spiritual being, and if you believe that energy medicine is hoo-hoo, well, that's going to be your experience. But when you open and when you allow, when you surrender to those energies and you participate in it, it intensifies everything, and the attunement goes like 100 times better. So that's one level that agreement is. And then the other level of agreement I want to speak about is when you're working with, let's say, maybe it's a situation that's going on across the world, or maybe there's a war or something, and maybe you have friends there, whatever it is, it's like where you're actually working with another person who's also, an attunement practitioner, light worker, energy worker, whatever you want to name that, a prayer partner. But when two people can hold the same agreement and allow that energy to flow, allow the intention to bring healing, peace, abundance, whatever that's needed for that outcome, it just intensifies everything. I think Lynn McTaggart kind of touches on that with the power of 8 groups. It's like when people come together and have an agreement, have a similar intention, and hold that in mind, because we're all connected. We're all connected to one mind. We're all connected to the infinite universe. And when we put our attention and intention in the same place and really tune into that and allow something magical to happen, it's like, wow, what's that about? So for me, agreement and doing that with other conscious people is so powerful, and it's so awesome to witness the outcomes that come forth when we do that kind of work. Hi, my name is Sece Foster, and I want to share an experience. One of my first really intentional experiences with attunement, and it was really powerful. So in 2019, I received a phone call that my mom was in the hospital, and it wasn't good news. She had fallen, and what was happening for her, we found out a few days later, was that she was diagnosed with brain cancer. And so in that moment, there was a feeling, there was a knowing that, okay, this is it. This is it, because like in life, we all know that at some point we might lose a parent or someone we love. And up until then, I had lost my dad a few years before, but this was different because I was more conscious, more in attunement, and had the tools to really go into the spiritual realm and really work with what was happening. At that time, my mom was living in Oregon, and she had my sister and my niece and other family members that lived nearby. But what I knew in that time was that something really important and powerful was going to happen, and I knew that diagnosis was the beginning of the end of her cycle here. And so what was mine to do? And it was just so powerful, because the first part of the healing was, I got to tell you that, like many people, there was a time in my life when I adored my mother. When I was a kid, I just loved her. She was my world. Sorry. And I had lost that, in my mom's life. She had allowed herself to get bitter and allowed her heart to close, and she changed, So what was the first part of that healing was for me. I remember I was sitting in a car. I had just taken a call from my mom. She had just went through her biopsy. So because it was brain cancer, it was no just little biopsy. They did brain surgery. So when I heard from her, and I was just listening to her, and something happened in that moment. There was like a warmth that moved through my body, and a level of compassion that I've never known up until that moment. This compassion, and it was like the love that I had for my mom. She was a little girl. When I was a little girl, it just came back. It just came back. It was like this flood of true love, knowing once again that beauty of just really seeing her. And so that was the first healing of my own heart, because the next step was then to go to Oregon and to be with her and with my family. And, there were things to take care of, she wasn't coming back home. Pretty much when she went into the hospital, she never came out. And, the healing that I experienced with attunement and being spiritually centered and empowered at that time, bringing that to Oregon with me to my family, and being that really centered, peaceful, loving, knowing what to do kind of presence in all that, really was very supportive for my family. My sister and I had the task of cleaning out my mom's place, which I'm going to say my mom was a little bit of a hoarder. Not like hardcore, but there was a lot of stuff, and it was like so much work and so much to do. And at that time, if I wouldn't have been there, I don't know what would have happened, quite honestly. I just brought that peace and that love and that understanding with me, and it just brought a presence of grace through the whole experience. And so I stayed for a couple weeks during that visit, and then I came back home. And the third part of this story that I want to bring, which was a very, very powerful attunement experience for me. So it was becoming quite clear. My mom was in a skilled nursing facility, and it was a place that was available. It was the only place that we could get for her, but it was not like the best place. She was not receiving the care, and my mom's spirit, I could see she was fighting it. She was like, this ain't right. This is not okay. And she was fighting. She wasn't able to relax into the cycle of letting go. She was in her fighting mode. And I remember quite clearly seeing it in her that it was time for me to come back. She had said, I want to go home. And I knew the home that she was talking about. So we took another trip. And I felt like this was going to be the trip, but it wasn't. I went, and it was amazing because my mom got moved out of that horrible place to a hospice place. And the whole time I was there, she was just so radiant. She was so, she was bald at that point, but she was just so sweet. And she just was just bringing so much love, and we were just in this love bubble together. And she wasn't quite ready yet. It was like, I don't know if you've heard that term, Indian summer. It was like her Indian summer. So it was like, it wasn't quite time. And I remember as we left, we stayed for about a week that time, and we came back to Colorado, and about, 2 weeks later, I was feeling my mom a lot. I could tell that things were getting close. And I went into a deep, deep attunement and was just talking to her soul and letting her know, like, hey, it's okay. You can let go. Our connection is going to be even stronger when you leave, because there'll be none of this, none of this physical human experience to really get in the way of it, Mom. I know that we're going to have an awesome journey together when you let go, when you leave. It's all going to be okay. And it was really weird because it's like that morning, it was just such an intense experience. It was a deep attunement. It was like talking to her soul. And I was about getting ready to go to work, and my friend who lives next door, who does happen to have some psychic gifts, texted me. He's like, how's your mom doing? I'm like, I think it's getting close. And she's like, okay. And then we talked, and it turns out it was really interesting because my mom's soul had actually left her body at that time, and she came to visit my friend, and my mom gave her a message for me, and I received that message. And it was interesting because, like, I got the message before I got the call that my mom's soul left her body. So it was really interesting in that whole day was just full of these gifts of her spirit showing signs that all was well, and she was like free. She was liberated from this physical experience that was holding her down, So for me,
that is still, so far in this life, one of the most powerful and real experiences of attunement, of being in tune with what wants to happen, what can happen through me into my world, and just what a blessing that is to the people that are in my life. And I got to say, to this day, still got a strong connection with my mama, and she's doing her thing. And I know it'll be a celebration when it's my turn to go.